Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves some tracks from an act named Master of Waves. And if we switch over to here, I have reviewed some music from Master of Waves before. We're going to be listening to more, starting with G-Bon Chom K and two more. So we're going to listen through each of these tracks from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think.
When the
Let's go.
Be a nightmare, you spend some cheddar and take a flight here. Where? Place where folk don't care. There's no passport you pass.
Is this like... Oh, this is 1080p, right? I was just making sure. That's cool.
Passive smoke in the air. You token, you take care. Keep burning that thing, it's the return of the king like a token affair. A lazy pop culture reference. Stop, put some effort in.
I like the sound of that. The little kind of phasey synth thing with the vocal rapping over top, you know? It's dope. It's almost like freeform poetry, you know?
Some heaven sent thoughts, grown with more than your brethren. Walk past that level, then get lost at 11 and poison for medicine, cutting water with ketamine.
I want to talk about the spatial mixing in this track. First of all, those da-da-da-da-da. I don't like how loud they are, those guitar parts on the left and right. Just to heads up, they sound very loud in comparison to the rest of the parts.
So very blessed the slice of my heaven which strengthen my message with that green method.
It's a funky bass lying alongside the chilled out kind of drum groove. I mean, like the sound of the synths as well. There's so much stuff going on instrumentally that's really appealing within it, and the vocal performance is nice and calm and confident. The mix is sounding a little bit rough though, like the sound of those organs, all those synth parts, they sound quite louder than what's going on with the drums and everything like that. Like there's just bits, I think, maybe with the side panning that need to maybe have another like look at them just to confirm. I like the ideas musically, and I think that we made some smart decisions with some really fun textures and articulating as higher end harmonies. I mean, like this party vibe as well. The energy of the track is great. The performance is solid and charismatic. Is this about a guy taking stuff and then like tripping? Because I saw him pouring stuff into his drink before, and now he's seeing this person, and now like he's kind of passed out or something like that. I'm gonna have to look back through the verse lyrics in the initial part. Again, like the character, the intent is great. Oh, they're English auto captions. I mean, like the use of auto-tune with those vocals there is charming, you know, there's a great presence to the mix. They sound like they're having fun as they're rapping over alongside it. The wishy-washy textures are kind of unusual sounding, and they're fascinating to listen to. I think those guitar parts as well, like some sort of like rotary verb or something like that. with some phasing or plunging.
চমকানো কাজ নাম হলো রৌনক কালী পুজোর রাতে জন্ম তাই ফাটানোর শখ রাত যদি না চায় আর গ্লাস যদি ভাসায় নাম ল দিয়ে শুরুতেই পাকা মোর হক
I think this is just about people having a fun time at the party and like letting the party lifestyle overwhelm them. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm just gonna listen through that verse at the start again. Yeah, from like listening through this track and kind of trying to get a hang of the lyrics in that first part, I think it like cutting water with Kidderman and stuff like that. It's about the kind of the party lifestyle, the effect that it has on you, and I'm not sure what's being talked about in that second part. But it's fascinating either way, you know, the kind of debauchery that we get up to with all the fun toys and fun sort of dessert treats we have around the place. So we go from the previous track to this one, As I, live at someplace else, track number 2 for today. It's looking forward to a change of pace. Not that I didn't enjoy the previous track, despite some of the sort of the issues I had with the leveling of stuff. I thought it was a fun one. It'll just be interesting to see what they do differently here. I understand why it's guitar-led now.
Signs, but my flow band rhymes, throw it up in the air with a lot of hand signs. It's a nano racing javelin, I come correct the battling. Put you in a hex spot, simply unraveling the secrets I keep with the beat in a language which I'm managing all the time I was traveling.
I didn't really talk about the rapping or anything like that in that previous song as well, because I was kind of taken away by all the other parts of the mix. I should note that the guy's got excellent flow. He reminds me of some of the rappers from the 90s, like over on the West Coast of the States. Just the cool, calm, relaxed mannerism of the way that they communicate. I think that's a really positive thing, you know?
From song to song, so when up in the rap facts, everybody sing along now. Who's got the flow of the century? I'm the kind of MC God was meant to be. But eventually, you go my way. Lenny Kravitz asked that answer to Bates. And there's a beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within. In myself, I don't need help. And there's a beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within. In myself, I don't need help. And there's a
I like the fact that the guitar is so minimalist beside the drums as well, with those ghost notes sort of buzz rolls and the hi-hat sort of kick work there as well. The percussion is tight. You know, the percussion is not a melodic thing, obviously, though, so it doesn't really sort of interfere too much with what's going on with the vocals and the message they're trying to spread.
Beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within. In myself, I don't need help. And there's a beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within. In myself, I don't need help.
Solid work as well on the kit, actually. You know, some of those 16th triplets are dope.
As I grab it from the neck, the supernatural effect kicks in, lifting your cock. So on my head, I throw it over and I carry distance listed in one of my numerous predictions, like it brings grin upon my face. Said the king, sing of you living by some place. It's a given that they're giving you shelter. I melt the skin off your limbs as I begin to bring you hell some, but for now, well done. These were high stakes, know your mind aches from seldom utilization. So welcome to your organization that was on about patience. Don't all the lives taken, sites that they spend all their lives. Organize, advertise, it's vacant so that you can pay rent. I put it up for sale and the tax man knocks. You can give him a payment, a piece of the pie. There's no need to lie, smoke so much.
I'm like trying to take in every word here, and it requires simply, just because there's so much to take in content-wise, sort of like lyrically, you really just have to pause as a reviewer. And I think this is part of why I'm glad I don't, I'm glad that I've learned to kind of just like stop talking when I haven't got much of content or much to say that have benefit 21, because you've just got to learn to pause.
My knees got high, they start to give way, you start to fly. Oh, up and away, it's a bird, it's a plane now. Upside down, thought that it might change the scene. Ignorance still reigns supreme. It makes my brain a fiend for your brainless schemes while they prepare for me. Big grave so deep with 2 shovels made out of stainless steel. Holy water, silver bullet just to take the theme. They're unfair, it seems, if you ain't asleep. Only nightmares follow hollow waking dreams. And now
I honestly feel as if my brain is melted And it sucks because I'm listening and I'm wanting to take it in and I'm trying to sort of absorb it. But there's so many words to take in with these rap verses, you know? There's so many words to take in and I just... I like the variation on the guitar parts here, a little bit more intensity as well as the drums coming up for this outro section. It was nice that they got a turn each. Like, I don't know. I listened to this and I heard the words and I still don't really know what it's about. I don't know. There's like beat poetry going on here, man.
It was meant to be, but eventually you go my way. Lenny Kravitz has that answer to bait, and there's a beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within in myself. I don't need help, and there's a beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within in myself. I don't need help, and there's.
I mean, if we take it past the chorus and try and sort of like kind of stitch it together, I think that this track was about there's the bassist and the guitarist are speaking about themselves and their own experiences, and they're basically saying that they don't need more than what they've got in order to be able to get by and make it. They've got their own sort of rhythm or their own sort of like play style to groove along to, and they just wanted to sort of tell the listener about that. That was the aim of this track, is to be more open by that. And I think the fact that they come together to do the double tracking of these parts in this chorus is good because it allows the guitarist to come in with their rapped part.
Beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within in myself. I don't need help, and there's a beat and a rhythm I keep hidden within in myself. I don't need help.
It's a really simple motif with those two chords there, and the occasional sort of like crescendo strums later on. Yeah, it was basically spoken word, and I dig that. I think it's great. I just probably need a lyric sheet to kind of really get a nuance or an understanding or emphasis on this one. But yeah, I think the message I've got from it sounds really positive. And then we've got track number 3, Afro Blue from Master of Waves. Oh, some sort of bluesy extensions there, some jazzy elements. Very different stylistically. I kind of like how chill it is. Somber mood to it. It's great.
I'm smoking out my mind, smoking out for the first time, doing out, smoking clouds, holding down for a few days. You say you can stick around for the movie, I'ma have to fill you in. Are you listening? No longer living with a few folks who give a shit. Instead she's living within her own sinner. Says I've been paranoid for a while, now it's sitting, grinning, trying to alleviate the pressure, recreate the pleasure of childhood. I knew my sort of mind would gravitate to the edge of reality with this fake tragic shit. So an opportunity, then I grabbed it quick. Asked her about her family, she said that they were glad to see her finally have the time to keep life sort of figured out. But we can't kick the weed or the liquor out.
I heard the Afro Blue part. I'm not sure if I got the words clearly from the lady, because the lady's got a nice voice. She got a nice voice. I like the melodies there. It's just a shame that I didn't get the words through clearly. I've heard a bit more of the verse parts. It's talking about a movie and not being able to sort of get there and being kind of like not sort of knowing the real stuff or something like that.
Just sitting here a different part. She had me singing the gods that I didn't believe in. But after I'd seen it, I'd give applause to whatever cause you attribute to this effect. Remove my hand in respect for that in which my sins rest. And best of all, she confused my plans with real intent.
Dream of a land, my soul is gone. I hear a hand, stroke on a drum. Sweet old delight.
Damn, man. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's either the mic is muffled or come down a moment. Because if I get frustrated when I can't hear the words clearly or when like I am missing important information, it makes me feel stupid because I listen to these verses, I'm like, I've literally heard them say this stuff. They've said the words to me. Why am I not forming a conclusion from this? I mean, I can hear that the drum group with the 16th note chops on there as well, the bass line funkily playing along to it, the guitar chords, I can hear all those parts clearly. And I think that that one was about like something a little bit more intimate and kind of having a connection to someone, but kind of figuring out that stuff. The Afro Blue part was kind of feeling sad about the fact that the connection they have is maybe isn't so sincere or genuine or authentic. I'm not sure, man. I'm feeling kind of like uncertain about this one. Because this is my conclusion to my review of this track, or rather 3 tracks. I reviewed 3 tracks today from Master of Waves. Afro Blue, As I, and G Bon Chom K. You know, I've talked about what these tracks are about individually. If I'm totally honest, the first one, I'm pretty sure the first one was about like, you know, getting high, spending time with people, the party lifestyle, getting into that stuff and having a good time and kind of vibing with people and the throes of it. Pretty sure that first one, that's what that one is about. I think As I was about finding your own rhythm and kind of valuing yourself and understanding that you can dictate your own direction and destiny. And the third one, Afro Blues, I think is about, it's about kind of like the connection you have with people and how kind of bittersweet life can be and how we sort of like join in with each other and try and make the most of this world that we have. I think that's it. I think that's what this track is about. These tracks are about. I think the vocal performances were solid. I think that the vocals were well intentioned. I liked them for the most part, and I think that, you know, like in Jibon Chom K, they were nice and, you know, like charismatic, and the vocal melodies and the harmonies and the rap flow was great. I think that a lot of the rap verses that I heard in these tracks sounded like, again, a lot of like 90s West Coast kind of hip hop here, that cool, calm demeanor, a bit of swagger to them. The words came through clearly for the most part, and I think they did well with the pronunciation and sort of like the overall sort of like communication of it. I think that with the 2 live performances, the mics weren't great. The delivery through them, the way they sounded, I don't think that it was an actual like take from the actual mixing desk. I think it was recording maybe the studio monitors, which is a shame. Because the monitors at the gig place, because I just didn't hear like the lady that clearly. Just hang on a minute. I'm just gonna go through the people who are performing in these tracks for like tracks 2 and 3, just to have them mentioned. So we got Vineet Moitra on bass and vocals in the first verse. This is for As I. We've got Arya Mukherjee on drums, and we've also got Master of Waves guitar and rap in the second verse. And in the next track, you know, in Afro Blues or Afro Blue, we've got Debayini on vocals. We've got Vineet on bass, and then Arya on drums with, again, Master of Waves on the guitar and the vocal parts. I think Debayini's vocal parts in Afro Blue were gorgeous, but I just don't think that they were clear enough with the way that it was mixed and mastered, or the way it was done at the live performance. I couldn't hear the words clearly apart from the Afro Blue part, and I think it was the same with some of the verse parts in the other 2 live tracks, which is a shame, because I can tell from what I could hear that they'd clearly been practicing and performing really well. You know, like they clearly are passionate about music and they have the right idea about what they want to do with it. It's just there are technological limitations when not all the boxes are ticked, and when it's stuff outside of musicians' control, there's not a lot you can do about it. That said, for what it's worth, I'm really happy to see that they're playing live, because I think it's really important for musicians to do that. I always hold musicians who do live shows at a higher kind of precedent than I do musicians who don't, because musicians who play live they're professional musicians, they're live musicians, and it's very difficult to do a live show and to entertain people, especially when you're starting out, and that can be a really big kind of scary thing for people. So I really appreciate when people take that risk, and they've done that here. And I still think that even though I couldn't really hear the vocals that clearly in either of the live videos, as opposed to the initial track there, which was the vocals were a lot more clearer in like the music video we saw at the first part. I still liked the melodies that we had there. I think each vocalist came in and did the best they could, and they sounded great. There were really appropriate melodies and harmonies chosen for each part, and I think that the way they sang suited the mood of the tracks that they were performing respectively. I think most of these tracks were like between 2 and 4 minutes, which is a sweet spot in these days for singles. Jibon Chomake, that sounded like the party vibe, the aesthetic there. It had these interesting sort of like lo-fi guitar sounds with the drums and all the other kind of elements there. It was very kind of like very sophisticated kind of party ambient vibe there, despite all the debauchery that was going on there. Again, I mentioned that some of the guitar parts were too loud, but that's aside from that, you know, that's just a sort of a studio production thing. I think the motif worked well there, and I think that aside from some of like lack of definition with some of the kick parts, which again is a studio production thing, I think they did tremendously well. I've got nothing but love for the effort put in to make the, you know, Jibon are really fascinating with all those different layers. And I think the intro talking, the kind of movie kind of voiceover intro there with the guy with the sunglasses and everything like that, with the spliff talking about that kind of stuff, I think that was fantastic. Really kind of great sort of swagger to it, and it was entertaining, and that's great. The 2 live performance tracks were a little more minimalist with like again the drums, the guitar and bass there, but that's not a bad thing, you know, especially when you have like a jazz standard like Afro Blue. If you go and overcomplicate it, it will come back to bite you, because it'll seem like you're trying to be better than the song that you're playing. And there's making it your own and kind of alienating the listener from what it was initially about. I think that they were loyal to some of their intentions and like the origins, especially with that standard there. They stuck within really sort of like sensible chord progressions and scale and key decisions there, which were great. The percussion was phenomenal with those 60th note accents there and some of those triplets that we had occasionally as well. I like the drums throughout. There was absolutely no filler in those respects. The bass guitars or the bass elements across these 3 tracks simply were very supportive of those drum grooves and also provided a nice floor for the harmonies in there. And ultimately anything else there was just kind of icing on the cake. You know, Afro Blue did sound kind of melancholy and sad, as I was very kind of like low key, and it's like kind of defiant in the face of people feeling the need to kind of tell you how you should live your life because you've got your own rhythm. So I think that the themes made sense with what we were playing there. I don't think there was a note out of place with the performance. It's just that I couldn't hear some other words, but the instruments had great clarity in the mix for the most part across the 3 tracks, aside from the stuff I talked about again with the guitars in the first track. Because in regards to like the recording, mixing and mastering, I think the studio production was solid. I think that we had a really good thing going with what was going on. With the overall tone of it, there were just some components that were just kind of sounding a little bit off. Again, as I've mentioned, a lack of vocal definition in those live takes. Some leveling issues in the first track that I spoke about at that point in time. But aside from that, I do like how the drums, guitar and bass came together in the live takes individually. I think they were nicely filtered and EQ'd and everything like that. And I think that again, for a live take, it's great. It's great to see them playing live. I don't think you can hold a live take at the same quality as like a studio recording where everything's nicely behaved and you've got all your ducks in a row. There's a bit more sudden nuance to a live recording that you got to be careful with, but it's good. I think that the parts I could hear from the vocals were like the leveling itself in the live takes was fine. It was just the definition, clarity of the vocals in that part. And that's like an EQing thing, or it could simply be like a compression thing on the microphone or something like that. I'm not sure, you know, because they were definitely singing into the mic, and it could just be my ears. I don't know. It's why it's frustrating for me in these situations. But things were nice and wide in the stereo field there. The spatial mixing of the guitars, like in that first track and stuff, it just needed to be turned down a little bit. But I like the fact we're trying to get behind the headphones and surround you with the sounds of the party and everything like that. That was kind of cool. There was dynamic range to these tracks, which is great. And, you know, overall it was nice and loud without pumping. You know, I admit I might not have been totally like positive overall about these tracks, but they're just little minor things. And a lot of these are outside of the musician's control. But that said, this is my review of Master of Waves' various tracks. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go check out their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember, to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time has either helped more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.